So, chances are, if you've ever been told you have low iron, you are probably handed an iron pill and pretty much sent on your way. But, just treating that number on the page totally misses the biggest piece of the puzzle. Today, we're going to dig into why the most important question you can ask isn't how do I fix it, but actually, why is this happening to me in the first place?
You know that feeling, right? That constant tiredness, the brain fog, just feeling weak. It's so easy to blame low iron and just assume that a supplement is the magic bullet. But here's the thing. Just taking a pill without asking how your iron got low in the first place, well, it's kind of like silencing a fire alarm and then going back to sleep without ever looking for the fire.
And that, right there, is the big idea we're talking about today. Low iron isn't the actual problem, it's a signal. It's your body's check engine light flashing on the dashboard, telling you that something else, something way more important, is going on. And ignoring that signal, as we're about to see, can have some really serious consequences.
Okay, so let's just totally reframe how we look at this. We have to stop seeing iron deficiency as the final diagnosis and start seeing it for what it really is, a symptom of something else.
All right, first things first, let's get the lingo straight. Iron deficiency is simply when your body's iron savings account is running low. Now, if it gets really severe, you can't make enough healthy red blood cells, and that's what we call iron deficiency anemia. But notice what that definition doesn't tell you. It doesn't say a single thing about why those iron stores are low.
Okay, so why is this such a big deal? I mean, really? Well, for starters, the reason you have low iron might be a condition that needs its own totally separate treatment, like celiac disease. Or, and this is the scary part, it could be the very first sign of something as serious as colorectal cancer, where catching it early changes everything. And here's the kicker. If you don't find and fix that root problem, you can bet that iron deficiency is just going to keep coming back.
All right, this is where it gets interesting. We're basically launching a medical detective story. You can think of your doctor as the lead detective, and your low iron level, that's the first major clue that a case needs to be solved. And when you get right down to it, the investigation really only has three main avenues. There are only three ways you can become iron deficient. One, you're not getting enough in your diet. Two, you're not absorbing the iron you do eat. Or three, you're losing iron from somewhere, which almost always means you're losing blood. And this is where the plot really thickens. According to top medical resources like UpToDate, for most adults, not eating enough iron is almost never the main problem. The number one prime suspect every single time is blood loss, until you can prove it's not. And this chart just lays it all out, plain and simple. In adults, look at that. Blood loss is by far the most common culprit. Problems with absorption are a distant second, and a poor diet on its own is the least likely cause. This is exactly why the investigation almost always starts with a search for a bleed. So where could this blood be coming from? Well, the most common spots are the GI tract, from things like ulcers or even tumors. And for premenopausal women, heavy periods are a huge factor. But then there are other, less obvious causes, like donating blood too often or even the microscopic bleeding that can happen from intense exercise, like running. And look, if you need any more convincing about how serious this investigation is, check this out. A study from 2005 looked at adults with chronic iron deficiency anemia. Of those who had an endoscopy to find the cause, a staggering 12%, 1 in 8, were found to have a malignant tumor. That's why you just can't take a pill and call it a day. All right, so once the detective work is rolling, how do we actually go about fixing the iron levels themselves? Well, modern treatment has come a long way, and it's actually way more sophisticated than you might think. The old way of thinking was pretty simple. If your iron is low, you just pound your body with high doses of iron pills multiple times a day. More is better, right? Yeah, not so fast. It turns out that's not really how it works. We now know that our bodies have this incredibly smart regulation system, and sometimes a less is more approach is actually a lot more effective. So it all comes down to this really cool hormone called hepcidin. The easiest way to think of it is as the gatekeeper for iron absorption. When you swallow a big dose of iron, your body panics a little and releases hepcidin, which then slams the gate shut on iron absorption for about 24 hours. That means taking another pill the very next day is pretty much useless. But by taking iron every other day, you give that hepcidin level a chance to drop. The gate swings back open, and you end up absorbing way more iron from each pill. Plus, it's a lot easier on your stomach. So really, this gives us two main paths for treatment. On the one hand, you've got oral iron. It's the first step, it's cheap, it's easy. But, and it's a big but, it can cause nasty GI side effects in up to 70% of people. So for anyone who can't handle the pills, or in really severe cases, IV iron is a total game changer. It just bypasses the gut entirely and pumps that iron right where it needs to go fast.
Okay, but what about food? Where does that fit into the picture? Well, of course, eating iron-rich foods, fortified cereals, beans, spinach, all that good stuff, is super important. A healthy diet is absolutely essential for maintaining your iron levels once they're back to normal. But is it enough to fix a major shortfall? Okay, let's put this into perspective, because this is wild. A big bowl of fortified cereal might give you about 18 milligrams of iron. Now, look at this number, 200 milligrams. That's how much pure, usable iron is in just a single unit of transfused blood. I mean, that just shows you the massive difference in scale, right? While diet is your absolute best friend for preventing a deficiency and maintaining healthy levels, you just can't eat enough spinach to dig yourself out of a deep hole. To do that, medical treatment isn't just a good idea, it's a necessity. So, after all that, what's the one thing you absolutely have to walk away with? It's this. You have to be an active partner in this whole process. You need to become the lead detective in the case of your own health. So here it is, your mission. Step 1, recognize the clues. We're talking fatigue, restless legs, or that weird craving to chew on ice. That's a real thing called pica. Step 2, get a simple blood test to see what's up. Step 3, and this is the most important one, if your iron is low, you have to ask your doctor that all-important question. Why? And finally, step 4, work with them like a partner to find and fix whatever's causing it. If you don't remember anything else from our chat today, remember this. Iron deficiency is just a signpost. It's pointing you towards a much deeper issue. It is not the end of the road. Look, your body is an amazing machine, and it's always trying to talk to you. When that low iron warning light flashes, it's sending you a very specific signal. So the question is, are you just going to try to shut off the light, or are you ready to listen for the real message?